The bathroom door was locked from the inside. Rita Alvarez made sure of it. She heard the bolt click. She tested the handle twice before turning toward the mirror. 3 minutes. That's all she was gone. 3 minutes to wash her hands, fix her hair, and walk back to the car where her boyfriend waited under the flickering gas station lights. But when she came back, the door was open. Not broken, not forced. Just open. The light still on, the bolt still turned from the inside. And on the sink, exactly where Rita had left her car keys, there was now a photograph. Face down. Still wet, like it had just been developed. Rita didn't touch it. She couldn't, because she could see the edge of the image from where she stood, and it was a picture of her, standing in that exact bathroom, taken from behind. Taken while she was alone. This happened at a gas station on Route 54 in 2001. What Rita found that night wasn't just disturbing. It was physically impossible. And when investigators finally looked into it, they discovered something that made it so much worse. Rita wasn't the first. Not even close. There had been others. Decades of others. All women. All alone. All at the same location. And no one can explain how. If you've ever locked a bathroom door and felt like something was watching you, this story will crawl under your skin and stay there. Hit that like button, subscribe for more mysteries that defy explanation, and drop a comment if you've ever experienced something you couldn't rationalize, because what happened to Rita Alvarez is still happening. Let's uncover the truth. Rita Alvarez was 26 years old in the summer of 2001. She worked as a medical transcriptionist in Las Cruces, a job that demanded precision and patience, qualities she carried into her personal life. Her boyfriend, David Salinas, was the opposite. Impulsive, easygoing, prone to last-minute road trips. It was his idea to drive to Roswell that weekend. Not for the aliens. David had never been interested in UFO tourism, but because his cousin was getting married and the ceremony was early Sunday morning. They left late. Too late, really. Rita had worked a double shift and didn't get off until 11 p.m. David picked her up outside the clinic, engine idling, passenger door already open. They made it onto Route 54 by 11:30, the highway empty and black, headlights carving a narrow tunnel through the desert night. Rita dozed off somewhere past Tularosa. When she woke, they were pulling into a gas station she didn't recognize. The place was called Dusty's Stop and Go. It sat alone at a crossroads where two forgotten highways intersected, the kind of establishment that survives on truckers and travelers with no other choice. A single pump island. A low, flat-roofed building with bars on the windows. A hand-painted sign that flickered erratically. Half the letters burned out. David pulled up beside the pump and cut the engine. "I need to stretch," Rita said, unbuckling her seatbelt. "Want me to come with?" She shook her head. "Just gonna use the bathroom." The air outside was cooler than she expected, sharp with the smell of diesel and dust. The gas station clerk was visible through the window, a middle-aged man in a faded denim shirt, staring at a small television behind the counter. He didn't look up as Rita walked past. The bathrooms were around the side of the building, accessed through an exterior door marked "Restrooms" in peeling red letters. A single bulb hung above the entrance, swarming with moths. Rita tried the women's door. Locked. She knocked. No answer. She waited 30 seconds, then tried again. Still nothing. Finally, she jiggled the handle harder, and the door swung open. Unlocked after all. The bathroom was small, cramped, institutional. A toilet, a sink, a mirror spotted with age. The light was harsh, fluorescent, buzzing faintly. The floor was clean. Too clean, actually. It looked recently mopped. Rita stepped inside and locked the door behind her. She tested the bolt twice, pulling on the handle from the inside to make sure it held. It did. Satisfied, she turned toward the sink. That's when she noticed the smell. Not cleaning chemicals, not mildew. Something faint, sweet, almost floral, but underneath it, something else. Something organic and wrong. She couldn't place it. It reminded her of the hospital, of rooms she transcribed reports for but never entered. She finished quickly, washed her hands, and unlocked the door. She walked back to the car. David was leaning against the driver's side door, scrolling through his phone. Rita climbed into the passenger seat, buckled up, and said nothing. They drove for another 10 minutes before she finally spoke. "Did you see anyone go into the bathroom after me?" David glanced over. "What?" "The women's bathroom. Did anyone go in after I did?" "No, why?" Rita stared out the windshield. "The light was still on when I came back." "So?" "So I locked the door." David shrugged. "Maybe you didn't lock it all the way." "I did." "Then maybe someone was already in there when you got there. You said it was locked at first, right?" Rita didn't answer. She replayed the moment in her mind. The door swinging open on the second try, the clean floor, the smell. She couldn't shake the feeling that something had been off. Not dangerous exactly. Just wrong. They reached Roswell 2 hours later. Rita didn't think about the bathroom again until Monday morning, when she saw the news. The headline was small, buried on page 4 of the Alamogordo Daily News. "Woman reports unsettling encounter at highway gas station." Rita read it over breakfast, coffee cooling in her hand. A woman named Laura Finch, 32, traveling alone from El Paso, had stopped at Dusty's Stop and Go around 1:30 a.m. on Saturday night. She'd used the women's bathroom. When she came out, she noticed her car had been moved. Not much, just a few inches forward, enough that the front tires were over the line she'd parked behind. Her keys were still in her pocket. Her doors were still locked, but the car had moved. Laura reported it to the clerk, who told her she was mistaken. She insisted. He shrugged. She left, shaken, and called the police from the next town over. They took her statement but found no evidence of tampering. No witnesses. No security footage. Dusty's didn't have cameras. The case went nowhere. Rita stared at the article. Her hands were trembling. She called the number listed at the bottom, a non-emergency line for the Otero County Sheriff's Department. She told them what had happened to her. The door, the light, the smell. The dispatcher listened politely, took her information, and said someone would follow up. No one did. Rita couldn't let it go. She started searching online, typing variations of gas station bathroom locked door and Dusty's Stop and Go Alamogordo into search engines. She found nothing at first. Then, on a message board dedicated to unsolved mysteries and strange encounters, she found a post from 1998. The user, anonymous, described stopping at a gas station on Route 54. They'd locked the bathroom door. When they came out, the door was still locked from the outside. Impossible, they wrote, because I was inside. They'd had to knock to get the clerk to unlock it. The clerk acted confused, said the door had been locked when he checked. Rita kept digging. She found 2 more accounts, one from 1995, one from 2000. Both described the same location. Both mentioned locked doors, lights that shouldn't have been on, and a pervasive sense that something was watching them. She called David. "I need to go back." "Back where?" "To that gas station." "Why?" "Because something's wrong there." David hesitated. "Rita, you're freaking yourself out." "I'm not. I'm serious. Other people have experienced this." "Experienced what? A faulty lock?" Rita wanted to scream. She wanted to make him understand that this wasn't paranoia, wasn't exhaustion. It was real. But she couldn't explain it without sounding irrational, so instead she said, "I'm going with or without you." David sighed. "Fine. Saturday." They drove back to Dusty's Stop and Go the following weekend. Rita brought a camera. The gas station looked different in daylight, less menacing, almost mundane. The paint was more faded than Rita remembered, the windows dirtier. The clerk was different too, a younger man this time, early 20s, wearing a black t-shirt with the logo of a band Rita didn't recognize. He nodded as they walked past. Rita headed straight for the bathrooms. The door was unlocked. She stepped inside, and the smell hit her again. Faint, floral, wrong. She took out her camera and started photographing everything. The sink, the mirror, The ceiling tiles, the lock mechanism on the door. That's when she noticed it. The bolt was loose, not broken. Loose as if someone had deliberately unscrewed it just enough to make it unreliable. Rita knelt down, examining the screws. They were old, rusted, but they'd been turned recently. She could see fresh scratches in the metal around the heads. She tested the lock. It clicked into place, but when she pulled on the handle from the outside, it opened easily. The bolt wasn't catching. Someone had sabotaged it. Rita photographed everything, her hands shaking. Then she walked back to the car and showed David. "Look at this. Someone tampered with the lock." David frowned. "Why would anyone do that?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." She went back inside and approached the counter. The clerk looked up from his phone. "Can I ask you something?" Rita said. "Sure." "How long have you worked here?" 6 months. Why? "Have you ever noticed anything weird with the bathrooms?" The clerk's expression shifted, just slightly, but Rita caught it. A flicker of recognition, of unease. "Weird how?" "Locked doors. Lights turning on. People feeling watched." The clerk set his phone down. His voice dropped. "You should talk to Marisol." "Who's Marisol?" "She used to work here. Quit about a year ago. She kept saying she saw someone in the bathroom when no one was supposed to be there." "Where can I find her?" The clerk hesitated. Then he scribbled an address on a receipt and slid it across the counter. "Don't tell her I sent you." Marisol Rivera lived in a small adobe house on the outskirts of Alamogordo. She answered the door with suspicion in her eyes, but when Rita explained why she was there, Marisol's expression softened into something closer to relief. "I thought I was losing my mind," Marisol said, ushering them inside. She made coffee. They sat in her cramped living room, and Marisol told them everything. She'd worked at Dusty's for 3 years. The first 2 were uneventful, but in her 3rd year, around 2000, things started happening. Customers would complain that the bathroom door wouldn't lock. Marisol would check, and the lock would be fine. Then customers would say the door was locked when it shouldn't have been. Marisol would check again, same result. One night, Marisol was cleaning the women's bathroom after closing. She locked the door behind her so no one would walk in. She was scrubbing the sink when she heard the bolt slide open. She turned around. The door was still closed, but the bolt had moved. "I watched it," Marisol said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was looking right at it. It slid open by itself." She quit 2 weeks later, but that wasn't the strangest part. Marisol had done some research of her own. She'd talked to an older woman in town, someone who'd lived in the area for decades. The woman told her that before Dusty's Stop and Go was built, the land had been something else. A rest stop. A much older one from the 1960s, and before that, during the 1940s, the site had been a small way station for travelers heading to the nearby military testing range, what would eventually become White Sands Missile Range. In 1947, a woman named Elena Vargas disappeared from that way station. She'd been traveling alone, stopped to use the facilities, and was never seen again. Her car was found idling by the roadside. The door to the women's restroom was locked from the inside. When authorities broke it open, the room was empty. No body, no signs of struggle, no explanation. Rita felt the room tilt. 1947, Marisol nodded. The same year as the Roswell incident, but no one connects the two. Elena's case was buried, forgotten. "What do you think happened to her?" Marisol's eyes were distant. "I think she's still there." Rita couldn't stop thinking about Elena Vargas. She spent the next week searching archives, contacting historical societies, digging through digitized newspaper records. She found Elena's missing person report, a single-page document filed with the New Mexico State Police in July 1947. 28 years old, brown hair, last seen wearing a blue dress. There was a photograph attached. Elena staring at the camera, unsmiling, her eyes dark and serious. Rita printed the photo. She kept it on her desk. She also found something else, a reference to a journal. Elena had been traveling with a diary, according to her family. It was never recovered. But one of her sisters, interviewed in 1950, mentioned that Elena had been writing about strange lights she'd seen near the way station the night before she disappeared. Rita's chest tightened. Strange lights. 1947. White Sands. She called the Otero County Historical Society and asked if they had any records from the old way station. They didn't. But they gave her a name. Harold Pitts, a retired engineer who'd worked on the early missile tests at White Sands in the late 1940s. He was 93, living in a nursing home in Las Cruces. Rita visited him the following Saturday. Harold's memory was sharp. He remembered the way station. He remembered the disappearance. They didn't talk about it much, Harold said, his voice thin and reedy. But we all knew. Security came through, asked questions. They wanted to know if anyone had seen anything unusual that night. Had they? Harold nodded slowly. One of the guys said he saw lights, not in the sky, on the ground. Moving lights, like someone was sweeping a flashlight back and forth. But when he went to check, there was nothing there, just the way station. Empty. Do you think the military was involved? Harold's eyes flickered. I think they were interested, but I don't think they did anything. I think whatever happened to that woman, it wasn't human. Rita left the nursing home with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. Something had happened at that site. Something unexplained. And it was still happening. She drove back to Dusty's Stop and Go one last time. Rita arrived at dusk. The gas station was empty, the clerk nowhere in sight. She walked around to the bathrooms, her camera in hand. The women's door was open. The light was on. Rita stepped inside. The smell was stronger now. Floral, chemical, wrong. She locked the door behind her and stood in front of the mirror. She waited. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Then, slowly, the light began to flicker. Rita's breath caught. She raised her camera, but before she could take a photo, the bolt slid open behind her. She spun around. The door was still closed, but the lock had disengaged. Rita reached for the handle, and then she saw it. In the corner of the mirror, just a reflection, just a flicker. A woman in a blue dress standing behind her. Rita didn't scream. She didn't move. She just stared. The woman in the mirror stared back. And then she was gone. Rita unlocked the door and walked out into the night. She didn't look back. She got in her car and drove home. She never returned to Dusty's Stop and Go. The gas station is still there. The bathrooms still lock sometimes. The lights still turn on sometimes. And every few years, someone reports something strange. A door that won't stay locked. A reflection that doesn't match. A feeling that they're not alone. Elena Vargas was never found. Her case remains open, though no one actively investigates it anymore. The way station where she disappeared was demolished in the 1950s, paved over, forgotten. But some things don't stay buried. Rita Alvarez still has the photograph she took that night. She's never shared it publicly, but those who've seen it describe the same thing. A faint shape in the corner of the frame. A figure in blue, watching. If you ever find yourself on Route 54 after dark and you stop at a gas station that feels a little too quiet, a little too empty, check the lock. Test it twice. And if the light is on when you come back, even though you know you turned it off, don't go inside. Some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed.